Mr. Media, I'll talk to Mark Schultz, writer and artist of the classic comic book of dinosaurs and Cadillacs, Xenozoic. Stick around, T-Rex fans.
Hey, did you know that you can listen to the latest Mr. Media on your phone with the Stitcher app? Stitcher is smart radio for your smartphone. Mr. Media is on demand and on the go with Stitcher. Download Stitcher for your phone today. Get the free download at Stitcher.com. That's STITCHER.com.
So much media, so little time. Who keeps track of it all? That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is a Mr. Media interview. You know, MrMedia.com, MRmedia.com. Stop by and check it out. There are more than 700 archived celebrity interviews for your listening pleasure.
The show is brought to you today by thepartyauthority.us. Planning a wedding, mitzvah, or corporate event in the New York, New Jersey, or Pennsylvania area? For any and all occasions, call the Party Authority nationwide at 1-800-DIAL-DJs. That's 1-800-342-5357, where one call does it all.
Mr. Media is recorded live before a studio audience that includes Devil Dinosaur, Dino, Turok the Dinosaur Hunter, Kazar, Captain Planet, Godzilla, Mothra, Barney, and the entire original cast of Sherwood Schwartz's short-lived 1966 sitcom, It's About Time, in the new media capital of the world, St. Petersburg, Florida. Back in the mid-1980s, when serious comic book fans heard that artist and writer Mark Schultz had created a world that crossed dinosaurs and Cadillacs, their first reaction was, cool. Now, some no doubt thought that it was too much of a gimmick to succeed. Again, dinosaurs and Cadillacs. Well, no doubt a big seller at the recently opened Creation Museum in Kentucky, but some couldn't help but be a little dubious, I'm sure. Until, that is, you opened the pages of Xenozoic Tales and experienced firsthand the ingenious storytelling and the rich tapestry of comic art. I remember seeing a couple random issues of the book at the time, which was published for more than a decade, and finding it captivating. But I was outside the comic scene, and it wasn't always easy to find. The stories later were published as Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, and even adapted into 13 episodes of a popular Saturday morning cartoon series in 1993. Now, after a long absence, the collected adventures of Jack Tenrec and Hannah Dundee are back in print in a hardcover edition simply titled Xenozoic. Now, reading it from start to finish for the first time, I was struck by several things. The oozing sexuality and pinup beauty of almost every woman Schultz draws. The ugliness of most all the men. And, most interesting of all, the sturdiness of the environmental subplot moving the overall narrative forward. Even better, fans? Mark Schultz promises a return to Xenozoic in the near future. Mark Schultz, welcome to Mr. Media.
Hi, Mr. Media. Good to be
have
here.
You. And I should say welcome back, because this is actually your second visit to the show.
Yes, it is.
Glad to have you here. So, Mark, Cadillacs, dinosaurs. What the hell were you thinking?
Oh, boy. It was a concept that evolved over several years. I was working in commercial art, doing advertising, doing some book illustration, but I really wanted to be a comic book artist. I wanted to tell stories in the comic book format, and just took elements from many different stories that I'm particularly interested in. King Kong, the Burroughs books, Edgar Rice Burroughs books, science fiction movies in general, the great comic strips, many of which you mentioned earlier, like Turok, Son of Stone, and kind of all beat them up in my mind and kind of encased it in an environmental theme. And you know, again, it was several years that over that time it just kind of bubbled away and turned into what it is.
Now, I kind of guesstimated at the public response to a book about Cadillacs and dinosaurs. What was it actually at the time?
I'm not sure I understand.
How do people respond to this idea? I mean, we've had dinosaurs, and we've had dinosaur hunters, and we've had there was Hot Wheels comics, but we really hadn't had Cadillacs and dinosaurs in the same story.
Well, I guess that's the hook they got right. It brought people in, and admittedly, it's more a hook than anything else. That's not the core issue. You know, there's only so many things you can do with a Cadillac and a dinosaur. But it's you know, it's a great juxtaposition of, and of course the you know, the in joke is that Cadillacs, those big old Cadillacs, are dinosaurs now. So it was a visual hook to get people into the story, and it worked. It worked
You were
very
even ahead of
well.
your time on that, Cadillacs being dinosaurs.
No, at the time I did it, they
Is that
were
right?
pretty much, actually Cadillac, if anything, has made kind of a resurgence in recent years. But when I started this in the mid 80s, 1985, 1986, 87, that was kind of a low point for Detroit, traditional Detroit steel.
I actually do recall that. I am old enough to. I've got
Yeah,
the
it kind of
frost
dates
on
us,
what's
doesn't
left of the hair. Um,
it?
well, for
Tell me about
for
it.
folks who are not already familiar with this, and I want to introduce this to a lot of people, tell them a little bit about about the conceit behind melding these two things. It's not. You're right. It's not a Cadillacs and dinosaurs is the thing that draws your attention to it. It's like, what the hell are we doing with humans, Cadillacs, and dinosaurs in the same art and the same story? Tell folks a little about what the story that you're getting at is.
Well, it's a speculative cautionary story. It's more fantasy than science fiction, but it has a it's got a science fiction basis to it. It's a post-apocalyptic world. It surmises that in our near future, and I'm talking about us now, contemporary, there's going to be a series of massive global ecological disasters that make the Earth uninhabitable for humans. In fact, most of the human race is killed off, and those that remain take refuge in these underground vaults, and they live there for about 600 to 1,000 years. When they come back to the surface, they find that our global ecology, the global landscape, everything has changed, and it's this kind of eclectic ecology now. Animals that have been extinct have returned and formed this new ecology, and the humans are kind of several pegs down on the food chain now. Those that remain just trying to survive with what limited technology they can scrape together, and it's a struggle for survival, with the humans again being placed back into the food chain rather than being separate on top.
Let's take a quick break. I know it feels like we just got started, but let's take a quick break. We'll talk some more about the environmental issues. I want to talk to you a little bit about something we talked about off air, Planet of the Apes. This is Bob Andelman, and you're listening to the Mr. Media radio and, for some of you, TV interview with writer and artist Mark Schultz, creator of Xenozoic. And we will be right